Hi, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. My name's Alexandra and today I'm back with LDRS. I'm going to be using some of their new Christmas dyes along with my alcohol inks to create this fun and rich and intense Christmas card. So let's get inking. I have my alcohol ink Ranger craft mat that I use all the time for my alcohol inks, and I don't mind if it gets stained. I also have a piece of Yupo paper or Yupo paper. This is an acrylic paper and it's perfect for alcohol inks. You can of course use the photo paper that lots of people do, but the great thing about Yupo is the fact we can heat it and we can do all sorts of other fun things with it as well. I have a mini mister that has some alcohol ink blending solution in. I have my Ranger tool and a few different colours of alcohol inks. I have mainly some reds. I did pick up one green and I have the copper mixative as well. And the technique we're going to be doing today is a direct to paper. So we're going to start out by spritzing our paper with the blending solution. Now the one thing I would say is you want to do this in a fairly well ventilated area. And I have my patio door open here in the basement, and there's a nice sheen all over my paper. Now because it's an acrylic paper, it's not porous, so it's not going to soak in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some droplets. And as I tap, you can see how those droplets are growing and moving and giving some really fun effects. Every piece you do with this will be different. So again, I'm going to do the same. So far I've used some Raisin. This one I think is the Cranberry. So we're just going to allow them to seep out on their own to start with, and we'll see how that comes out. This is the red pepper, so you can see I'm going for that Christmassy theme. Oh, this one's fairly stuck. Yeah. So you can see how they're growing and moving, and every time you've hit it with a different one, you end up with all these fun textures and things in there. And then I'm also going to just add, in some of these lighter places, start adding some droplets of green. So this is actually the Limeade. I didn't have any darker greens. So I'm going with a nice bright one for a funky touch to our Christmas card here. And then we're going to add the copper mixative. Now I already gave this a good shape. There's a ball inside of all of these mixatives, and you want to make sure you do that up front because it really will make the difference. But what they do is give you a wonderful shine and extra shimmer and things to your card. And you can see how this is really starting to come together here. Now I also have one of the tools here. You can also spritz. So if I add more blending solution, you can see you get some really fun porous pieces in there. Now I actually want more fill in, so I'm going to add some of the blending solution to my tool. Now sometimes this will give me the perfect effect and I won't touch it. Other times I find I want to just move some of that colour around a little bit. So like particularly the mixative, I want that to lighten up, and you can see how much lighter it gets by doing this step. So sometimes, and this one in particular, I think I'm going to do a base coat like this. So I've got some really nice base colour on there. You can dry this with your heat tool. I would recommend the Ranger Heat It tool to dry it with, and definitely some trepidation. Then I'm going to add some more blending solution. And again, you get all those fun things in there. And then I'm going to go back with my reds. And I'm going to let those just be a little bit more organic. And kind of shaking and dropping and adding all these kind of fun textures. It's a really fun medium to experiment with. If you don't like it, grab a wipe with some isopropyl alcohol or some alcohol prep pads and start again. You can wipe this paper off and it will be white, crystal clean, and you can try again. If you don't like what you've got, you could just add another layer of colour and mix it all together and see what you end up with. So don't be disheartened if you get something and you don't like your result. I want some dashes of green, so I'm just going to flick those in as well because this is a Christmas card. And now I'm just going to leave this to dry. In fact, I'm going to give it a helping hand with my Ranger Heat tool, and then we can start doing our card assembly and cutting it up. So now we're ready to start die cutting, and the great thing about these pieces of Yupo paper are that they're a nice large size. We can die cut lots of different elements and get lots of cards out of one piece. Now to start with, I'm going to be using the new LDRS Holly border die. Beautiful, stunning border. It comes in two pieces. There's this piece here that cuts the holly leaves and also embosses this stitch. Plus you get this great piece to add a lovely swirl down here as well. So we're going to put both of these pieces on here. Like so. And the reason, if you've never seen one of my LDRS videos before, the reason that they have that colour on them is so that they're easy to release. Not only do they look pretty, which we all love, but the fact that they have that on there makes the paper release really easily, particularly with some of those intricate dies as well. So I'm going to just stick a piece of surgical micropore tape on there. And then I'm also going to die cut the Merry. So let's die cut that too. And I'm going to choose a piece with a nice bit of green in it, so we get some nice tones in there. And I have my cutting plates for my Vagabond right here. I'm going to lay this on top. Now whenever I die cut something that is fresh, and it might just be a little bit wet still, and I'm just sort of have that little bit of tentativeness to it, then I layer a piece of deli paper over. I have this for all sorts of things. It's a great tool to have in your craft room. And if you just lay this over the top, it's thin enough, it's not going to affect your die cutting sandwich, but it's going to stop getting any mess on your plates as well. So definitely a top tip in there for you too. So I should also mention with alcohol inks, if you get some on your work surface, as I did earlier, you can see how nice and clean it is now, or if maybe you get some on your dies, either some of the alcohol blending solution on some paper towel, or I have lots of the alcohol prep pads. I buy boxes of them on Amazon. I'll link those up for you. Perfect to just clean off your work area. Now whenever I'm card making, I die cut lots of elements and then I decide what's going to go on my card at the end. I find that's a much better way, for me at least, to work. So I've got all this left over that I can die cut in future. I can cut out ornaments and baubles and words and all sorts of things. And I also have this lovely strip that I could stamp. I can heat emboss on here. And because it's a plastic paper, it's really rugged. It's going to take anything that you throw at it. And you can also see you've got some really fun colours that kind of seeped underneath on those corners as well. So I will be keeping those for later. Now, I did pre-cut a few pieces. I grabbed some copper cardstock because I wanted to use the copper mixative. I also just have a piece of plain white cardstock that I was intending to layer up on. Now, I was thinking of putting something down here with my holly border along, a small gap there, and then that Merry as well. May have to just overlap that a little. You might be able to hear Tilly upstairs. She's vacuuming. We got her a Dyson for her birthday, and she's loved it ever since. So I am going to first of all stick this piece onto my white, and I'm going to use my funky tape runner. This will still work perfectly with this, like so. And I'm going to make sure those corners match, like so. Then I'm going to add this piece on there. Again, I'm just going to run my tape runner just down the edge there. And I'm actually going to line the top, this inside swirly edge, with the top of that stitched piece. And what it's going to do is going to give me a nice bit of extra texture. If you have any adhesive that goes over the edge, just grab your adhesive eraser or rubber, however you call it, and you can just run it down there, and that's all gone. And then I'm going to add my Merry, and I think I'm going to add it kind of straight up here. Always play around with elements. So you can see this is my card making process. Lots of you have asked me about that. How do I make a card? How do I think up ideas? You know, what is my process? I haven't got a glue pen to hand, so I'm just going to add some adhesive on here, and then I rub my eraser over it afterwards, and it works really well. This is kind of how I tend to do things, particularly if I forget to put my all over adhesive on the back, which happens a lot, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Again, let's grab that eraser. Love these. Best invention ever. a rubber eraser that will remove adhesive. Just pop a little bit. If you ever have anything that kind of sticks up, I grab a glue dot, I roll it in my fingers, and then I pop it down into the appropriate area, and it will stick perfectly, just like that. So there are my top tips for when things go wrong. That is how I fix my own cards. And again, if you need to, you can just pop your razor under there too. Now I'm going to stick it onto my copper cardstock, like so. And I'm going to use some foam. And quite often, I will start out like this with just a rough idea of what we're going to do, and then just kind of play with different elements and see what works, see what colours don't work. I'm going to go and grab a sentiment to put on here as well in just a second. Let's just add our foam on ready. So I have just grabbed a word that says Christmas. It's out of another sentiment builder set that I had. But I just wanted something standalone, and I didn't have anything from LDRS. So I just grabbed my Christmas. I'm going to stamp it down here. Make sure I've got it all. And I'm going to use my Ranger Superfine White Embossing Powder. And a good flick on the back. I'm going to heat that with my heat tool. The great thing, as I say, about the Yupo paper is the fact that you can heat emboss on it and all sorts of other fun things. And then we can add it to a card base. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Again, this is that evolving process. This is not at all the card I had in my head. I may sit down and make that in a couple of days' time. But often you come out with something that just looks different, but it's fun. And this is full of some great techniques as well. So I'm actually going to use the Desert Storm card base. I already have my foam on the back. And I'm going to stick this down. And there we have it. There is our finished Merry Christmas card. You can see in those photos the gorgeous colours we ended up with and all that wonderful detail that we managed to die cut in there as well. So do check out the whole LDRS Christmas collection and stay tuned for some more inspiration here at Hedgehog Hollow, as well as on the LDRS blog. Plus we have a 12 Days of Christmas coming up very soon. That'll be great fun as well. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button if you don't already, and give us a thumbs up for this video. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you again very soon. Happy stamping. Bye.